Welcome to this edition of Spotlight. We are at Lakeview Middle School with Principal Kirsten Clemens. And Kirsten, this year during tutorial time at Lakeview, you're really focusing on student achievement, student learning, and kind of implementing some of our initiatives for the district too. Can you tell us more about what that looks like?
Yeah, so our building leadership team has really looked at our comprehensive school improvement plan for the district, and then has looked at how we can implement that in our building school improvement plan and focus in on student achievement and what that looks like. And we are doing it as a school-wide process this year. So you're going to see it all across our classrooms, no matter what classroom you're in during tutorial time. We are focused in on a very specific structure this year. And so our teachers have the ability to choose between different modules on how they want to start their lesson with the kids, whether it be on a social emotional learning exercise like mindfulness or mind and movement, self-regulation, self-management, or they can focus in on a positive behavior support, or they can focus in on goal setting. But there's a preview at the very beginning, so there's a little setup at the very beginning. And then we have 20 minutes dedicated to math instruction, focused in on our areas that we need improvement on academically. And then they close then the lesson with some sort of reflection, goal setting, and talking about what they're going to do for the next day. And so they set up the goal for the next day. And it's been really successful. We've had amazing improvement in our student achievement this year. So we're really excited to go into this next portion of NWEA and MAP testing to really see to reward our successes. So I think you're going to see some amazing things today from our students and our staff and in our classrooms.
Yeah, well, let's head into some tutorial time as we spotlight Lakeview Middle School.
This Spotlight is sponsored by Citizens Bank and Trust.
The goal of tutorial is to meet the students' needs, to support them in whatever we can do so that they can have the most successful day, and specifically focused on supporting their math learning. As a building, we looked at our math NWEA scores, and we noticed that we had a lot of gaps in different areas. Specifically in the last month, we've been focused on geometry, which when we got our analysis of NWEA after winter, that was the lowest strand across the board. And they were given practice specifically associated with things that they would have missed or gaps that NWEA identified for them.
Something that I think has helped was having more individual time with the teacher, so then you can ask more questions, so then you can get more answers on how to do the problem correctly, instead of the whole class learning one thing at a time, and then you can't ask as many questions and get in more depth with the problem itself.
We get to learn with the students as they're progressing through those different skill sets. But at the same time, we also get a conference with them and get to see where they're struggling. We get to pinpoint that out, and we get to practice with them.
Because we've been dialed in, our students are where they need to be, and they're not stressed about what they don't know, and we're not stressed about what they don't know because we've been able to fill in gaps right where they're at.
Some of the things that we were actually doing in tutorial, we're not doing in math, like geometry. So it really helps me because when we are going to do that, it helps us get ready for what we're going to do in the future.
So we've seen tons of positive outcomes. We have seen, so from fall NWEA to winter NWEA, we actually had quite a few students kind of having these aha moments during the NWEA test where they're like, oh, I worked on this. Oh, I did this, because the test comes back and gives them opportunities to show growth in those areas. And across the board, we had really, really positive growth in almost all of our students.
From fall to winter, I increased by 13, 14 points on my NWEA. So I'm really proud of that because I think really tutorial helped me grow and succeed that way.
From fall to winter, I grew 21 points. And I'm excited to see how much I grew from winter to now, just based off of how much I've learned from tutorial time.